Welcome back to the Clack Shack, guys. Had a busy day of milling and got a little thunderstorm coming through this afternoon. I'm in the shop trying to knock out a few projects. While I'm at it, I've got an order for 6 coasters that I've got to turn out. So I wanted to take an opportunity to kind of demonstrate using a jig instead of going through the painstaking process of trying to line things up and make sure everything's square. I want to go over that and show you how I do these cork coasters. So stick around for a minute and we're going to get this thing fired up. All right, the first thing we're going to do is, of course, if you've got one of my interchangeable jig kits, you'll have the, you should have your locking bar already in place. Like I said, I run mine is screwed to my vacuum table, so I don't have to worry about moving it, taking it out or anything like that. And this is just a square jig. I included it in the kit if you downloaded the kit. And this thing is a lot handier than what you'll realize. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to snap my jig in. All right, I've already set a file to burn these. I did one of my own already that had my logo on it. So I've already built a box and squared it and checked it and made sure it works. And so all I'm going to do now, since I've already done that part, and if you want to know how to make a jig and how to go about doing it, you could do this with a blank jig and cut a hole if you wanted, but for me, there's no need in wasting a bunch of wood when all I need is just a 90-degree jig to make sure I'm square. So I'm loading the file. I'm gonna drop the image on the file, put a coaster up here, and we're gonna make some smoke. So the cool thing about this jig, like I said, it's a 90-degree, so all you really gotta do is make sure that 2 sides of your workpiece, make sure that it's touching on both sides, and that's done. So if you've got a template built, then all you got to do is drop your image and hit burn. So we're going to go ahead, and I always recommend, just to make sure you didn't mess with your laser or move anything, just do a quick rehome just to make sure. But also lets the machine know that it's at 0-0 and makes things go smoother. So I've got the jig file pulled up that I've got, and the way that I do it is I name my jig file. It is actually named after the cork coaster, and I also in the name indicated that I would be using the square end jig in the lower section. So all that's in my jig name, so that when I open that jig, I know exactly how to set this part up, and I don't have to go through the whole process of framing and all that. So I'm gonna go ahead, just to show everybody, I'm gonna hit the frame, let it frame it so that you can see what it looks like, and then we're gonna hit the burn. On this cork, before somebody asks me, I will be running 120 millimeters per second speed at 80% power output. So it's gonna be a kind of a quick burn, but this is an image, so that's not really going to make it all that quick. So I've got it set to image, and I'm running Jarvis on this one. This is an image that I've burned to wood before. I've never burned it to cork, so I'm not sure if the shading is going to be right or not, but we're going to see. So I've got that set. Maximum power output is going to be 80, so that means that my blacks should be 80, and then from there down everything else. So we'll go ahead and hit the frame. When this frames, it should be like right on the edge of the coaster. And as you can see, it is exactly tracking the square edge of that coaster. So I'm gonna hit this thing, start it up. And I will be turning on my vacuum table if the smoke starts getting too bad. So it's gonna get a little noisy. Yeah, it's starting to build up. So let me cut the vacuum table on, and I'll be back with you shortly. All right, guys, there we go. That's the initial burn. This is a black semi that has a lot of chrome on it, and so building this image in Photoshop was very, very tough to try to get it to contrast good enough to burn with a laser. But give me just a second, because one thing I've learned with cork is it has a lot of soot. So let me take this thing over to my air hose and blow it off right quick. All right, got the soot cleaned off of it, and that's the end result. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you can actually make out the, you can read the tag number on the semi. So that's pretty good. All right, well, we got this one done, and she wants 3 of these, and then I've got another truck that I've got to put on 3 other ones. So that was why I wanted to go ahead and take this opportunity to show you how the jig worked. Like I said, I took my air hose, got all that soot out of there so it doesn't get on the rest of the cork, because if you leave that in there and you touch that, it'll actually get on the cork and discolor it. So, but I'm gonna drop another one in and hit go again, and we'll see how it goes. Like I said, all you gotta do, make sure you're in both corners, you got it pushed up all the way, sitting down, and hit start, and off to the races. I'll check back with you as soon as this one's over, because I am gonna have to turn my table back on. All right, guys, that's number 2. I'm gonna lay this one here. Let me go blow this one here off for a second. And I'm gonna go ahead and put number 3 in there. So this will be number 3 on our burn. Alright, so that's the 3rd one with that truck image, and it turned out pretty well. I gotta go blow it off with the air hose. We're gonna have to change out the image because two different vehicles that they want pictures of. So I am going to remove that one and import the other photo that they wanted, and get this thing on here. Get it sized right. Now this one doesn't have as much black on it, so I'm hoping it looks gray instead of black. So we'll go from there. But here we go. This is going to be the second set of 3. This is a different image. This is going to be more of a gray truck. So we'll see how the shading does. I've never burned this image. I just got it today and put it in Photoshop and tried to contrast it out enough to where it would make an image, but let's see how that goes. All right. It appears that I was actually able to contrast it enough to tell a difference, but I'm gonna have to hose this thing off with some air to really be able to tell. So I'm gonna start the next one and go on over to the air hose. All right, there's the third one on that set. So that's gonna be all of them we've got to make. I'm going to go air hose this one off, and I'll move the camera and we'll have further discussion. All right, guys, I cheated a little bit, and while these were burning, I put the finishing touches on some other things I've been working on today. Cut these out. These are cut and glued letters that I did on this sign here that I'm making. And these here, I know what you're thinking. There's no way the D1 laser can cut wood that thick, and you're absolutely right. But one thing that I have learned about having a laser is that I can engrave the piece of wood with the letters that I want. This is a pretty deep engrave. And I can also set to do a burn line, and it'll do the burn line around the graphic that I want. And then I just take this over to the bandsaw and cut this thing out. And so it winds up basically being the whole design is drew for me, because I'm not that great with pencils and drawing them out. So, but back to what we were discussing. Like I said, I've got 3 identical rigs on this one. This one was a black truck with a lot of chrome on it, and you in order to get a little bit of shading, it's a balance, especially with this cork. I'm gonna tell you, this cork is it seems like it's all or none. But the silver truck, it almost looks a little gold, but at least it's not black. I had to contrast it best I could to try to get it to look silver, and it didn't quite make the mark. But you know, when the only crayon you got is a black one, you can't really complain, because technically with the laser, that's all you got is black. I prefer to do logos on these where it's just a black logo and no background, but this is what this lady wanted, and she's bought some other stuff from me, so that's what she got, and I think she's gonna be okay with it. Like I said, $5 worth of little coasters at Hobby Lobby, or 30 of them for $15 on Amazon if you buy them there. And you can burn these things out, especially with a custom image that you have to work and do the leg work on. I'm getting $10 a piece for these things, so that's $60 for that work. Now the work on the graphic, you know, that's not in the video, but that's how I managed to make my money back for the graphic. Is I just tell them, hey, look, this is $10 per, but that's working in the cost of building the graphic and cleaning it up in Photoshop, because I was sent a picture that was taken with a cell phone, and they expected it to be put on here, so I had to do that back end work. But maybe this will help you out and show you that using a jig is useful, and you don't have to necessarily cut out a specific jig for different items. You can use that 90-degree jig that I've made, snap it onto the interchanger, the locking bar on the D1, and go to town. And it's as simple now that I've finished those. All I got to do is go back over there, snap off the jig. I can put my rotary jig down, or I can leave the jigs off, whatever I want to do. It's that simple, and it's that fast. So, you know, I really like the jig that I've made. It makes it a little more convenient, cuts down on my prep time, so that, like I said, I can be working over here turning out these mass-produced items, and then I can be working on other stuff like this to try to maximize my profit for the day. Because if I'm sitting there, you know, watching the laser, or if I'm having to line it up every single time, I'm losing 30 seconds to a minute to 5 minutes if everything goes bad. Whereas using the jig, it's instant. You just place another piece and hit start. So I hope this helps you out, and feel free to check out my channel, look for some other videos. I've got some other stuff out there and more to come, and have a good day.